Hello, everyone. Welcome to studying with me. I am prepping for an exam, Microsoft AZ-104 exam. So I want to spend the next 1 hour streaming my preparation in regards to that. I would basically be running through a couple of example questions and be trying to answer them and see how accurate I am. So I'm going to take some time to write down, watch the question, try to study the questions. I have my notes here with me. I'll be starting from the very first question. I'm going to run through the questions and see how many I can do within the next 1 hour. So this is me practicing and me learning. But just before I continue, I'm going to take a break for like a few seconds just to see if everything is working on the stream and ensuring that I can basically continue with my study. So this is just for mainly for benefit of anyone that also wants to study and my benefit too. And basically running through the different studies. I have the exam in a couple of weeks, and I really want to ensure that I'm using this text I got via the training organization just to do some tests. So I won't be exposing the PDF or sharing with anyone, but I'll basically be studying and answering the questions and see how well I do. So I'm going to pause for a moment and I'm going to check if the stream is up and running, and which I believe it is. So, but basically, excuse me, and I'll be back in a couple of minutes to starts in about 2 minutes and let you know. Basically, that's me studying. what we already know from studying stuff and things like that. Okay, I think I got that right. Number three, you have an Azure virtual machine that runs. Let's see. I have a VM, one that runs on Windows Server 2019. Okay, good. You save VM one as a template, okay, to the ARM, that's the Azure Resource Manager library. You plan to deploy a virtual machine named VM2 from template one. How can you configure? What can you configure during the deployment? What can you configure? It cannot be the resource group. Virtual engine size, I think, is the B, administrator username. What can you configure? D is it's the resource group. I was so wrong on that one. He said, what can you configure during deployment? Of course, it's the resource group. Because it's a template, so you're duplicating these resource groups are something that can be unique to each different resource. Yeah. So yes, so I've missed two out of out of three, but I'm on track. Why did I think the answer was username? I'll find out about that. Let me highlight that also. So when you deploy a template, you specify a resource group that will contain the resource before running the deployment command. Create the resource group or during deployment. Also, we can create the resource group. If you try to deploy your own template in the portal, there are three available options. So you have the subscription, resource group, and location. Okay. So these are the things we could mess around with. All right. Question 4, you have an Azure subscription that contains an Azure virtual machine named VM1. VM1 runs a finance reporting app. Okay. That does not support multiple active instances. Okay, you get that. Said at the end of each month, CPU usage for VM1 peaks when app one launch. You need to create a scheduled run book to increase the processor performance. I think I know the answer to this. Of VM1 at the end of each one. What task should you include in the run book? Okay, so I'm thinking it cannot be VM1. It can't be C. B. I'm not sure. It could be A. Let's see. Oh no, it's E. I've already highlighted this, so yes, I remember this. This the desired state configuration. So the answer is definitely E. Okay, so I cheated on that one, but I already know that the answer is that. Then number 5. Yeah, and some of the explanations are here. I think I should just copy this out. I'll check that out later. The point here is to answer a question. Question number 5 looks like multiple choice. Yeah. This question is a part of series that present the same scenario. Each question in the series contains a unique solution that meets the stated goals. Some question sets might have more than one correct solution, while others might not have a correct solution. After you answer a question in this session, you'll not be able to return to it, I remember. And as a result, these questions will not appear in the review screen. So that's when you're writing the exam in the exam hall, basically. You can't go back because I've written this exam before one time and I failed it. So this is going to be my third attempt. And hopefully I passed. I was quite very busy during those times. So one of the reasons I failed because I wasn't ready to write it, but I had to write because I had a couple of deadlines. Though I tried to make it clear that I needed time, but you know, I'm taking it for the third time when I'm pretty sure I'm going to pass with excellent colors, which is why I'm doing this to ensure that. You have an Azure subscription that contains 10 VMs, okay? 10 VMs. And the virtual networks are hosted in separate resource groups. I'm taking notes here. And it says another administrator plans to create several NSGs, network security groups, in that subscription. Okay, so next it said you need to ensure that when an NSG is created, it automatically blocks TCP port 8080 between the networks. Solution, you configure a custom policy decision, then you assign it to the subscription. Can you assign policies to subscriptions? Configure a custom policy, then you assign the policy. Well, yes, that could work. Yes. Yeah, the answer is yes. I got that right. So 50-50 now. I'm actually doing better than 50-50, which is good. Option number 5, I got the answer as A. Yes, correct. So it says resource policy definitions used by Azure policies enables you to establish conventions for resources in your organization by describing when the policy is enforced and what effect to take. By defining conventions, you can control the costs and more easily manage your resources. Number 6, that was correct. Ooh, I should have like a bell that I hit when I get things right. So I think I'll try that later just to make it more fun for me. You have number 6. You have two Azure virtual networks named VNets 1 and 2. So it says I have 2. Okay, so two Azure VMs, no virtual networks. I have two virtual networks, VNets 1 and VNet 2. VNet 1 contains VM1 and VNet 2 contains VM2. So there are two virtual networks. VM1 is a front end application that connects to VM2 to retrieve data. True. So he said users report that the front end app is slower than usual. You need to view the average round time trip. Okay, you need to view the average round trip time of the package from VM1 to VM2. Which Azure Network Watcher feature do you use? I would say it can't be connection monitor. It can't be flow logs. It could be flow logs, but I don't think so. It can't be verify flow. Probably is connection troubleshoots or IP. So if I want to choose, I'll probably go for B. So let's see if that is the correct answer. Connection monitor. Yes. C. I got it right. Oh wait, I said B right. Oh, I didn't get it right. Yeah. Connection monitor. Yeah. Okay, my bad. So the connection monitor. You see, I've forgotten most of these things I did last November or December, I think. Yeah, I did in December, and I've already forgotten. The connection monitor capability monitors communication at a regular interval and informs you of reachability, latency, and network topology changes between the VM. It's between the VM and the network. Okay. Then I knew that this was IPv4 enables you to blah blah blah. There are a couple of like different ones here. Let me actually read them. The IP flow verify capability enables you to specify a source and destination IP version 4 address port protocol and traffic direction. IP flow verify then tests the connection and informs you the connection succeeds or fails. If the connection fails, flow verify tells you which security rule allowed or denied it so that you can resolve the problem. Okay. Then the connection troubleshoot capability enables you to test the connection between a VM and another VM. Okay, so connection troubleshoot is VM and VM or IP addresses and things like that. But the other one, which is connection monitor, is it between it monitors at regular intervals and informs you of latency and echo between the VM and the endpoint. So you want to see like it can be also between VM and VNet or something like that. Basically endpoints. Then energy flow log capability allows you to log the source and destination IP address, port protocol, and whether a drive is allowed or denied. Okay, by the NSG. Okay, so this one is specifically focused on the security group itself. So I messed that one up. You have an Azure subscription that has a recovery vault. I remember these questions a lot. They were quite intense. So you have your recovery services vaults. So I'll call an RSV, and it's saying that it's called Vault One. The subscription contains the following shown in the table. So you have a lot of VMs. You have auto shutdown at 7 o'clock. You have Windows Server. You have four VMs up to VM4, and all those VMs have Windows Server. Okay, different versions of Windows Server and Windows 10 and Ubuntu and an Ubuntu server. So it says you plan to schedule backups to occur every night at that's 11 o'clock here. It's almost 11 o'clock here too. With virtual machines can you backup using Azure Backup? I remember this a lot. Um, I don't think it really matters. I'm trying to remember what the issue was, why the questions, Okay, so if I had to go for it, I'll say all of them. If I had to guess, because I actually don't remember the answer. Because I'm trying to say a reason why we won't be able to recover it. So let's see. Um, Siri is talking to me. I'm not talking to you, Siri. Okay, let's go. B, I got that right, guessing, but I have to remember that answer. So there's nothing that stops them. I know there's a reason why there's a specific why it shouldn't work on some machines. I'll try to find out why. Okay, it says Azure Backup supports backup of 64-bit Windows Server operating system. It supports 64-bit Windows 10. It supports 64-bit Ubuntu Server. I know it doesn't support. Okay, yeah, from 12. Yeah, there are something it doesn't support. Then it supports backup whether they are shut down or offline. That makes sense to me. You have the Azure virtual machine shown in the following table. So most of them are in Europe, certain regions of Europe, availability zones. So VM1 and VM2 are in west of Europe. So that's places like Portugal, Ireland, I think. Then V3, V4, North Europe. I'm not too sure what is North Europe. I'm guessing Norway and things like that. You have a recovery services vault that protects VM1 and VM2. You need to protect VM3 and VM4. What should you do first? Create a backup policy. Create okay, this is tricky. This is one of those questions that practicality comes into place. Create a new I think you can create a new one and you can continue from there or to create the extensions. You can't just create a state. You have to create a new one. It has to be separate because I know it with the zones, it kind of matters. So I will say create a new recovery service vaults. A new backup policy might not do much, and configure extensions so shouldn't do anything. New backup policy. That's the backup policy. Should that be the first thing? I feel like that should be the first thing before you create a vault, but I'll go with A. Let's see. Yes. So the answer is A. He said a recovery Services Vault is a storage entity in Azure that houses data. I do know that. And the data is typically copies of data configuration information for virtual machines, workloads, servers, or workstations. You can use it to you can use recovery services vaults to hold backup data for various Azure services. Number nine, it's another one of those heavy questions. It says with the other series of questions, those serial questions. It said the question is part of a series of questions that present the same scenario. Each question in the series contains a unique solution that might meet the stated goals. Some question sets might have more than one correct solution, while others might not have a correct solution. After you answer a question in this session, you will not be able to return to it as a result, blah, blah, blah. This question will now appear in the review screen. So this is a question. You have an Azure subscription that contains the following users in Azure AD, that's Active Directory tenants, called contoso.microsoft on Microsoft.com. Yeah, so I'll just have that here. And these are the users: user one, user two. The user three is a user four is a owner under the Azure subscription scope. Okay, so what's the question? User one creates a new Azure Active Directory tenant called external.contoso.on-microsoft.com. You need to create new user accounts in external da 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 da. You instruct the same domain. You instruct user two to create the user accounts. Does that meet the goal? So let's look at user two. User two is a global administrator within the same area, and yeah, I feel like they have the same stuff. I'll say yes. Let's see. No. When you make in well, that's wrong. Let me just say it's wrong on my question sheet here, because I said the answer is yes, but it said that it's wrong. Basically, you can't do that. It said when you make a new tenant the global admin who created the new tenant is then added as a global admin for the new tenant as an external user. Okay, but any other global admin in the old tenant are not automatically added to the new tenant unless you that makes sense. Unless you manually invite them. Let me highlight this. This is one of those questions I might mess up if I don't pay attention. Well, let me just have this here and save it. Good. Question 10, blah, 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 the same story from before. It is related to the same question. It said, you create a new Azure Active Directory tenant, user one. Yeah, same question. You need to create new accounts in this. You instruct user four to create the accounts. User four is the owner. So I feel like they can do whatever. So I'll say yes again. Let's see. Yes is A and B. I'm wrong again. So this is why I should pay attention. Definitely in this session. These are some of these sessions. I'm going to look at the last exam I did and see the sections where I messed up because they do highlight that. So I'll think I'll bring that on the next stream and talk about why I kept messing it up, so that I can just deal with it. So far I've only scored 50%, which is not good. 5 out of 10 is bad, and the score for this particular exam is 7/10. Okay. So only this one I should pay attention to. Only the global administration. That's what person that created it, not the owner, which makes sense. And this is another question, also related, same idea. Let's see what they will ask this time. User one, blah blah blah, same question. They said a new you need to create new user accounts in this. You instruct user three to create the new records. Let's see. So the answer is also B. No. Yeah, I got that one right. At least I learned my lesson. So I'm gonna mark that. Let's see. All right. It said number 12 is an entirely new question. So it says the question goes, you have an Azure subscription that contains a Azure Active directory, tenants named contoso.com. Okay, very similar. And it said that and it has an AKS, so that's Azure Kubernetes cluster named AKS1 within the same Azure subscription, which makes sense. And I say an administrator reports that she is unable to grant access to AKS to the users in contoso.com. You need to ensure that access to AKS.1 can be granted to the contoso.com users. What should you do first? Okay. Aha, this is one of those crazy ones. It said for contoso to modify the organization relationship. I don't know. I'm guessing it cannot be C asking to recreate. So let me first take that out. And it cannot be D. I don't know if it cannot be D. I'm just guessing. I don't think you need unauthorization endpoint. I'm gonna guess and go for 12A as A for the answer for this particular question. I'm just basically guessing. So the answer is B. Okay, so this sounds about right also. But I didn't since it's an AK. Yeah, it's an yes, that makes sense actually. I'm going to highlight that also just to ensure that I pay attention to that. So I'm halfway through the 30 minutes. Okay, I'm almost halfway. I'm not yet halfway to the 30 minutes, almost 30 minutes, and hoping to conclude this in the next a little bit over 30 minutes. All right, number 13. Let me indicate number 12. I got that wrong. Let me just mark it right here on my script. I said A, but the answer is actually B. So number 13 says you have a Microsoft 365 tenant and an Azure Active Directory tenant named contoso.com. Okay. So basically the saying I have, let me draw this out on my paper here. It says I have M365 Microsoft tenant and an Azure AD tenant named contoso.com. We plan to grant three users named user 1, user 2, user 3 access to a temporary Microsoft SharePoint document library named library 1. Okay. All right. You need to create groups for the users. The solution must ensure that the groups are deleted. Okay. Automatically after 180 days. Which two groups should you create? Each correct answer presents a complete solution. Okay. Ooh, that was a mistake. I exposed the answer. So the two answers are related to assigned membership, and I think I had this particular question in my exam. I did. So they will both be so let me just Microsoft 365 group, and one of them will have dynamic membership, and the other one will have assigned membership type. So in order to ensure that it's temporary for 180 days, and you want to grant those users. Okay. You can set an expiry policy. The explanation is right here. Yeah, I think I had this question. You can set expiration policies only for Microsoft Office 365. Okay, I don't know why I saw Microsoft there. It said you can set expiration policy only for Office 365 groups in Azure Active Directory, Azure AD. Notes: with the increase in the usage of Office 365 groups, administrators and users need a way to clean up unused groups. Expiration policies can help remove inactive groups from the system and make things cleaner. When the group expires, all of its associated services, the mailbox, planner, SharePoint site, etc., are deleted. You can set up a rule for direct membership on security groups, okay, or Office 365, okay. So that's dynamic for dynamic membership. BDNE, you can set expiration, blah blah blah. It's just for the explanation, which I'll check out later. Question 4, you have an Azure policy as shown in the following exhibits. It says, okay, it's under subscription 1, exclusions, contour resource group 1. So under resource group 1, we have a policy that doesn't allow certain resource types and not allowed resource types. So that's basically, let's see, Microsoft SQL Server. So they are basically asking on this subscription, what is the effect? So he said, what's the effect? Basically, they've answered it here. So you are prevented from creating Azure servers directly anywhere in subscription 1. Let me see. Is it anywhere? I think it's anywhere, yeah. Let me see the other ones. You are prevented from creating Oh, in here, yeah, I think that's the correct answer. Not in subscription 1. In this particular place, I almost messed that up. So the answer is B. Yep. Number 15. I think I have 30 minutes more in the stream. Number 15, you have an Azure subscription named AZPT. I like those initials. AZPT1. So it's a subscription that contains the subscription below in this table. Let's see it. Okay, that's interesting. We have storage 1, we have virtual network, we have VM1, we have VM1 managed disks, and you have a resource recovery services vaults for the site recovery of VM1. You create a new subscription, yeah, entirely different subscription, AZPT2. You need to identify which resources can be moved. Okay, so which resources should you identify? Okay, so what can you move from one subscription to the other? Let's see. Is there anything that doesn't make sense? I think the managed disk you shouldn't be able to remove it. You just have to create a copy of it. The storage account should be movable. I don't know actually. So I'm gonna guess. Let's see. I was thinking the VM1 manage should not be movable, but it seems it's movable because I know this is not the only thing you could move. So the answer is not D. VM1 you can easily move, should always be everywhere. Okay, maybe not VNet1 because it's a virtual network. So let me get that out. Anyone that has VNet1 should be removed. So I'll go for B. I hope I'm right. See, every single thing can be moved. It's a subscription, so that makes more sense. So I'm going to pay attention to that. So subscriptions, you can move anything within a subscription because a subscription makes sense. It's not a resource. Oh God, I need to be paying more attention to the questions and the way I read them. So the explanation says you can move a VM and its associated resources to a different subscription by using the Azure portal. You can move an Azure recovery service to either a new resource group within the current subscription or to a new subscription. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm having a little bit of itchiness in my nose. Don't know what's going on there. Okay, back to number 16. Number 16, it says, okay, not back to it. Coming to number 16. Well, back to it because I've done this stuff about 2 months ago. So I guess that's just my mind playing tricks on me. You recently created a new Azure subscription that contains a user. So I created an Azure subscription. So I should be paying attention to those words. Subscription that has a user named admin1. Admin1 attempts, that's the user, to deploy an Azure Marketplace resource by using a ARM template. That's a Azure Resource Manager template. Admin1, that user, deploys the template by using Azure PowerShell and receives the following error message. User failed validation to purchase resource. Error. Legal terms have not been accepted for this item on the subscription. To accept blah blah blah. So it's a long like story. You need to ensure this user can do this, can basically deploy successfully. What should you do? Okay, let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna guess here also because I have no idea. No. No. Okay, if I have to guess, I have no idea. So guessing, blah 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 blah, blah D. C. So it's I should have like figured that out. I just randomly like selected. I should have figured it out from this. Set Azure Marketplace terms because that's the one that's closely relates. So next time I'm going to pay attention to that. Oof. I'm going to get better with this. I know it's. No, I don't want to go to a new browser, and we're going to do four more questions, and I'm going to like take a break. Not take a break. I'm going to review all the 20 questions and see if you can answer them. So I'm going to try again. I'll be able to answer them because of my memory, but basically I'll just use them as a sort of revision and see what I need to test, and I'll end the stream right there. Or if I have more time, I'll do more. Let's see. Question 17. You have an Azure subscription that contains a policy-based virtual network gateway, which is called GW1. So that's a virtual network gateway. Okay, so it says that it has you also have a VM, a virtual network rather, VNet1 within this particular subscription. Okay, you need to ensure you can configure a point to site so that his point to site usually refers to like a portal being able to connect to somebody on like a hybrid connection on sites, basically on premises. Yeah, on premises is a better language. You need to ensure that you can configure a point to site connection from an on premises computer to VNet1. Which two actions should you perform? I think I should be able to answer this. A service endpoint I know should be there. Then, do I need to reset at the connection? Route base, I don't think that's it. I think I'll go for A and D. This is one of those guessing games again. Oh, okay. Yeah, we have other options too. We have delete, and we have add a public address space to VNet1. Okay, I'll go with A and F or A and D. Final answer, A and D. CNE, I didn't even come close. So create a route-based virtual network gateway and delete GW. Okay, so basically they're saying that a policy-based virtual network gateway named this is standing in the way of the connection. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so I'm going to read the explanation to make everything clear to me now. It says a VPN gateway, yes, is used when creating a VPN connection to your on-premises network. Route-based VPN devices use any-to-any wildcard traffic selectors and let routing forwarding tables direct traffic to different IPsec tunnels. It is typically built on router platforms where each IPsec tunnel is modeled as a network interface or VTI tunnel interface. Then E says, but the EYE is an answer. It said policy-based VPN devices, the combination of prefixes from both networks to define which traffic is encrypted or decrypted through the IPsec tunnels. It's typically built on firewall devices that perform packet filtering. IPsec tunnels and IPsec tunnels, encryption and decryption are added to the packet filtering and processing engine. Okay, so it's basically they are saying a point-to-site connection does not require a VPN or public-facing IP address because it's all being handled by the VPN gateway and the policy-based VPN devices. I have to pay close attention to that. Okay, number 18. Let me also did I get number 16 right? Let me quickly check that out. Number 16. I messed that up. I also messed up number 17. Whoosh. Number 18 says you have 5 VMs that run Windows Server 16. The virtual networks are configured as web servers. Okay, each of them are web servers. Okay, you have an Azure load balancers LB1 that provides load balancing services for the virtual machines. You need to ensure that visitors are serviced by the same. Oh, I know this one. This is very easy. It's not A, it's not B, it's not C. There must be more options. Let me scroll slowly. Yes. Yes, section precision is the answer. Number 19, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it said with sticky sessions, when the client starts a session on one of the web server, session stays on that specific server. To configure an Azure load balancer for sticky sessions, set session precision to client IP. On the following image, you can see the sticky session over here. So there's a load balancing under settings. You set session precision client IP, and yeah, so that's it. That's something I should pay attention to. Number 19, your on-premises network contains an SMB share called share 1. Okay. And you have an Azure subscription that contains the following resources. Okay, so I have a subscription that has all this stuff. A web app 1, a VNet 1. You need to ensure that the web app can connect to the share, SMB share. What should I deploy? Let me see. Only 3 options. No, I feel like there are more options. Or the answer should be, oh, I've already seen the answer here. It's C. But I knew that, which is good for me. So it's an Azure virtual network gateway. But I think I'm just gonna not mark that. I'll do one more question because I saw the answer before that. I want to be honest with myself. I don't want to make any mistakes. I'll just leave that and not count it. So I will do questions up to 21. So 2 more questions to go, I think. An Azure virtual network gateway. So okay, so you have a VNet one and you have this. I want to ensure, so within the network itself, you want to, okay, no, not within the network, on the on-premises network, and you have this in the portal, and you want to ensure that it's connected. So yes, it's a virtual network gateway. Makes sense for your site-to-site and point-to-site connection. So if it's a point-to-site connection for within the on-premises server, what we need is an Azure virtual network over that IPsec. But otherwise, you need a gateway, network gateway. Makes sense. Okay. I think I've learned something that I've forgotten. It said B, application proxy is a feature of Azure. Okay, some more explanation for the option B here, why this won't work. Okay, so application proxy is a feature of Azure AD, okay, that enables users to access, okay, on-premises web application from a remote client. Okay, so this is just like somebody who is within Azure Active Directory and wants to connect to an on-premises server. So you use this proxy, which is very different from the situation that was defined here for a web app. Okay, so I'll take note of this in case I see any version of it being asked. So 20, you plan to deploy several Azure virtual machines that will run Windows Server 2019 in a virtual machine scale set up by using an Azure Resource Manager template. You need to ensure that Nginx is available on all the virtual network after they are deployed. Yeah, okay, I know this. I feel like I know it. I think it should be a custom script extension. Let's see. I'm looking at the others. None of them make sense. And it cannot be this. Can't be D. Yes, C. Oh, yeah. And the last question for today, number 21. You have an Azure web app named Web App 1. Users report they often experience HTTP errors when they connect. Okay, I know what those are. You need to provide developers of Web App 1 with real-time access to the connection error. So that's a logger. The solution must provide, oh yeah, so that should be some sort of logger. Okay, yes, yes. Oh, I've already highlighted this. So I think I'm gonna jump this question too, but let me also read it. It says from web app one, enable not web server. I feel like the answer should be web server login, but let's see. Yes, I was right. Yeah. So I don't think I'm going to do an extra question. I wonder why I highlighted this in the past. Okay, so I need to check out why I did this. Okay, so I think I'll be stopping here and I'll just be reviewing all the questions, see all the ones I messed up and see all the ones I got right. So this is just for my own benefits. And we have 40 more minutes to do that, I think. Let me confirm. But this is just me trying to like ensure that what I do is done the proper way. So let me just confirm if I need to how many minutes I have on the stream. I'm guessing a few more minutes, and I'll be able to get out of here. All right, let's see. Mm, okay, I'm just going to spend another 13 minutes. I'll use this 13 minutes to review what I've done so far. Okay, back to the questions. All right. Okay, number one. So number one here, I got it asks me questions, a question about you have Azure that runs this, that runs that. You want to deal with the A record. So what I highlighted was private. So the answer should always be private IP addresses for both of them, not public. Yeah, correct. On second look, I have this one I also got right. Let me see why I chose the answer. He said you plan to deploy three Azure virtual machines named VM1, VM2, and VM3. The virtual machines will host a web app named App1. You need to ensure that at least two, yes, this has to do availability set and availability zone. So yes, each virtual machine should be in separate availability zones. Makes sense, makes sense, makes sense. Number three, I missed this one when I was answering it earlier. I said you have an Azure virtual machine named VM1 that runs Windows Server 2019. You save VM1 as a template, named template1 to the ARM library, that's the Azure Resource Manager library. You plan to deploy a virtual machine named VM2 from template1. What can you configure during deployment? That makes sense. The answer is, you say, what can I configure during deployment? The answer is D. Yeah. It's still very interesting to me, but that's nice. So it says that when you deploy a template, you specify a resource group that contains the resources before running the deployment command. Creates the resource group, or during deployment also we can create resource. If you try to deploy your own template in the portal, there are three available options. Okay, so these are the three things you can do during deployment. You can do your subscription. Makes sense. This also makes sense. Location is something I probably will not have remembered, so I have to take note of that. Question four, which is a question I got right. It says you have an Azure subscription that contains an Azure virtual machines named VM1. VM1 was a financial reporting app named App1 that does not support multiple active instances. Yeah. At the end of each month, CPU usage for VM1 peaks when App1 runs. You need to create a scheduled run book to increase the processor performance of VM1 at the end of each month. What task should you do? So basically, yeah, we had a number of like different questions, and the answer was I keep missing this. It's add a desired state configuration extension to VM1 because it does not support multiple instances. So you have to have a desired state configuration that will allow you to increase the processor performance. So quota is VPU quota will not do much. This won't do anything. Skill set is required is meant for instances. Modify the VM size property. I don't know if you can do that doing that size. Size is not related to processor performance. Yeah. Then add this doesn't really do anything. Or I have to find out if it does anything. So the answer is E, which I got right. The next question, which is B, which is 5, I mean. I also got that right. It was part of a series of questions. It talks about when you have a subscription, you're trying to deploy 10 VMs and they are all hosted in several resource groups, different, separate. Like another administrator plans to create several NSGs, as network security groups, in this subscription. They now said you need to ensure that when it is created, it automatically blocks, yes, connections, TCP ports 8080 between the virtual networks. Yes, you need to configure a custom blah 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 policy. Yes, that's the answer. I got this right. It was number 5A. Number 6, I messed this one up. You need to Azure virtual machines named VNet1, VM2, blah blah blah. It goes all the way and says that VNet1 contains an Azure virtual machine named VM1. VM2 contains yes, a Azure virtual machine named VM2. VM1 hosts a front-end application that connects data connects to VM2 to connect data. Users report that it's slower than usual, so you need to view the average round trip time of the packet from VM1 to VM2. Users have reported that the application is slower than usual. Yeah. So, which Azure Network Watcher feature do you use? I remember it's Connection Monitor. And yeah, then I need to really study all this stuff. Then the next question is number 8, number 7. I also got this one right. It talked about having an Azure subscription that has a recovery service vault named Vault 1. The subscription contains the virtual machine shown in the table. So these are your virtual machines. They now ask you plan to back it up every night at 3 o'clock. Which ones will work? And the answer is every single one of them. Yeah. So I just need to look and see and find out which ones don't work. Like for instance, it's from Ubuntu 12 to Ubuntu the latest, basically. I don't know if it's the latest, but I need to find out and check the requirements. Um, Number 8 goes, you shows me all this, and it was asking you have a recovery service that protects VM1 and VM2. You need to protect VM3 and VM4. What should you do first? So I remember this question was very tricky, but I eventually got it right. It was A, you create a resource service vault. I think it has something to do with locations. So I'll confirm that in later questions that might explain this answer. So that's the answer. You create a new recovery service vault because you cannot add VM1 and VM2 to it. Yeah, it said a recovery service vault is a storage entity in Azure that houses data. The data is typically copies of data. A bit of words there, I like it. Or configuration information for VM, for virtual machines, workloads, servers, or workstation. You can use recovery services vault to hold backup data for various services. They didn't talk about the location thing, but I know there's a location restraint somewhere or requirements. Then question 9, which is a question I also messed up. I remember missing this a lot, and it has something to do with a global administrator. So I'm just going to leave it as A, and B is going to be B, B, and B for the next 3. I remember all of them were it's only the person that created that particular Azure Active Directory, the user that created it, that can add a new user. Otherwise, you have to invite other people. and allow them to do that. So we can jump all three all the way to I got the third one because I already like knew these formats. So we're going to jump all the way to 12. Where is 12? Yeah. So 12 says, did I get 12 right? I messed this one up too. He said you have an Azure subscription that contains an Azure Active Directory AD, Azure AD tenant named contoso.com, and an Azure Kubernetes cluster named AKS1. An administrator reports that she is unable to grant access to AKS1 to the users in contoso.com. You should, I know it has something to do with an authorization endpoint, which is this. I messed that one up also. We got 4 more minutes, so I'm going to rush through the next few. Blah blah blah. I remember this one. SharePoint. It has to be Office 365 groups with dynamic users and as a role, and also assigned membership type. So assigned membership, dynamic user, and assigned membership. Sorry, assigned membership type and dynamic user membership type. So assigned and dynamic user, so that you can have the expiration running. Number 14 also is also a quick one, which I also got right. It's B. The answer is B, and that was easy because I just needed to block something, a particular resource group from a particular subscription to set up a policy. Number 15, you have an Azure subscription name, this and that, that contains this, that's AZPT. Then you create a new one. You need to identify which resource you can move. The answer is you can move every single thing. That's which is C. You can move the manage disks, you can move the vault. You can. This is something I should have gotten right the first time, but I actually messed it up also. Number 16, this is I remember this had to do with terms, setting up the terms policy for in PowerShell to allow a particular user to be able to deploy a resource. So the answer is C, the set resource plan. Then 17, you have yes, I remember this is one of those trickier questions. I need to really draw diagrams and pay attention to site-to-site connections and things like that, point-to-site connections and understanding site-to-site connection. The answer is basically to create a route-based virtual network. So that's from a point to a site, you're going to need a gateway. Then site to site, you're just going to need a network within it. Then you delete this, so you don't need this GWI network gateway. So a policy-based network gateway is not needed to connect points to sites, but you need a route-based virtual network gateway. Route-based, so that's the keyword. And what else? Number 18, blah blah blah. The answer here was pretty simple. There were more options, which is a D, session persistence, so that whenever a load balancer is you have this load balancer set up, whenever a user is reconnecting, you have like a client IP set up so that you know that okay, this is this particular person, it's like it's a sticky session. Number 19, da 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 da. I remember this was also very simple. The answer is the C. Yeah, C. A virtual network gateway, point to site stuff, and all those things once again. And number 20, which was okay, the final was 21. So this second to the last, it said you need to deploy server. They all run. So you need to run. You need to deploy several Azure virtual machines that run a Windows Server 2019 in a virtual machine scale set by using the ARM. You need to ensure yes, so you need an extension, a custom extension script, which is correct. And last but not least, and like exactly 30 minutes, so 1 hour mark, it says you have an Azure web app named Web App 1. Users report that they often experience HTTP errors when they connect to it. You need to provide the developers of Web App 1 with real-time access to the connection errors. What do? You turn on, which is A, from Web App 1 enable web server login, and that's it. Thank you guys for joining me. I'm gonna head the sack and sleep. And this was fun working with everybody. I'm going to highlight my face now, which is nice. This light at the top corner here, forgive me for that. But yeah, looking forward, and I'm learning. Basically, I'm also learning how to stream properly and learn new ideas. So this is just one of those things I'm doing for myself and eventually for everyone else, so that we can do much more and things like that. But thank you for joining me. I really appreciate the opportunity to do this and study and expand my career. And yeah, thank you, everyone. Bye bye.